Okay. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. This is session 2 of the Maze Executive Leadership Series. Today, we're actually talking about a really timely subject, especially given that we are in a COVID remote work environment. We do have to address the fact is, how is this new online job search and interview platform really going to look like for job seekers? So I'm really excited today to actually have Ana Olmedo over from Security Service. She's been a wonderful partner. I know she's going to have some great content to share with us today. A couple of housekeeping and just reminders for this event. So we will be collecting questions via the Q&A area on the chat box. So please make sure to just go ahead and enter your questions in the chat just so we can make sure to be mindful of the mics today, okay? Another thing is we will be recording this session. So if you do need to step away, we certainly do understand. We will actually be publishing it on the Maze Center YouTube channel at Tamusa Maze within the next 24 hours. It should actually be up today by close of business. So again, I'm excited for you to get to have access to this content, and hopefully it does help you in your upcoming job search if you do need it. So Anna, I will go ahead and let you take it away if you can introduce yourself and what you do for Security Service. We greatly would appreciate that.
Great, thank you so much, Clarissa. Well, hello, everybody. I'm excited to have been given the opportunity to join you all for today's virtual career event with TAMU San Antonio and the Maze Center for Experiential Learning and Community Engagement. My name is Ana Olmedo, and I'm the Senior Talent Acquisition Specialist for Security Service Federal Credit Union. I have been in the recruiting talent acquisition industry for the last 8 years, working for consulting firms as well as corporations and serving various industries. For those of you who may not have heard of SFCU, we're one of the nation's largest credit union, including the largest credit union here in Texas, with locations in Colorado, Utah, as well, but we are headquartered here in San Antonio. And our career opportunities include the financial, accounting professionals, but also IT, including security engineers, software engineers, data analysts, construction facility managers, chefs. And as far as immediate opportunities for recent college graduates, we actually have a quality assurance test analyst, perfect for upcoming graduates in computer science. In today's event, I will talk a little bit about my own personal experience going through a recession when I graduated with my undergrad degree. A few tips that may help you with the job searching, as well as tips on how to prepare for virtual interviews. And at the end of the slides, I would love to hear from the audience with questions, thoughts. But as always, I'm always open to help and connect, especially on LinkedIn, and provide resume reviews or tips. Next slide, please. The salad bowl and the 2007 Great Recession. And I know what you're all probably thinking, what does a salad bowl and the 2007 Great Recession have to do with anything? Well, for one, I was raised in the salad bowl, and that is how we refer to the area back home in California, where all the vegetables that you could think of and which are used in salads come from. In this area, through the years, there have been droughts, floods, plant disease that come and go, and yet the area thrives, and farmers learn to diversify their crops to adjust to the droughts, the floods, and so forth. And even the workers, including my parents, have also adapted to the constant changes, including the need for new machines in order to keep up. And I've always admired that, and as well as their work ethic, being able to adapt to changes. And when I graduated from the University of California in San Diego in 2009, it was right around the 2007 recession. Those who graduated between 2007 and 2011, including myself, entered an uncertain world. I had started school expecting to end my senior year with a job offer and plans to, sign an apartment lease in a new city. But then the financial crisis struck, and suddenly there were hiring freezes. People lost not only their jobs, but also their homes. And landing a job, as you could imagine, was a challenge. And in case you're wondering, that is actually me on the picture, and that is actually what my hometown looks like. Those are my pictures there. And the reason why I bring up both these points, both the area I grew up and the time frame when I graduated, is that from these experiences, I learned that sometimes there are changes, there are trends, or there are things out of our control, and we're not anticipating them, just like, maybe a curveball. Sure, we can always dwell on how things are not going right or according to our plans, but we could definitely learn to be resilient, adapt, and remain focused. Next slide, please. Stay competitive. Possibly you're not finding yourself with extra time. Weekends may feel a little bit longer. And this leads me to my first point: be a lifelong learner. This is like my motto and something that I passionately believe in. If you're always open to learn, listen to others who are giving you advice, and you listen ready to learn something new, you will be competitive and adaptable to these changes. And also helpful to staying competitive is my next point. Learning a new skill or skills. One of the best ways that you could add value as you prepare to dive into job searching. Ask these questions to help you determine where to focus. What skills, tools, and technologies are in demand? As a clue, you could look at the job descriptions themselves, the roles you're interested in. What certificates do you see being requested or skills for those job postings? And that will help you prepare as you do your job searching. Also, where can you learn new skills? Think LinkedIn Learning, there's lynda.com. But in addition, there's also free courses online, including Harvard University free courses. And as always, searching online for free programs or courses to expand your skills. As we're going through these unprecedented times, keep in mind that this will pass, and one day you will look back and wonder if you use your time wisely, or maybe you could have done things a little bit different. And personally speaking, I know how difficult it could be to start watching one Netflix episode, and before you know it, hours have passed. So definitely be mindful of your time and use it to your advantage. Next slide, please. Build connections and a virtual presence. I'm sure some of you may have heard it's not what you know, but who you know. Of course, your knowledge and the skills are instrumental, but I can say there's some truth to this saying, especially now more than ever. Now's the time to be strategic, and target people that you should know inside and outside the organization. And LinkedIn makes it fairly easy to identify people by company and even job title, and using LinkedIn to strategically target people who work for organizations you're interested in. Either follow them or invite them to connect. Connecting with people in target companies allows you to see the news they share, including job opportunities. And once connected, take that extra step and ask to speak on the phone. This takes your relationship to the next level. Also, use LinkedIn on your connections to join groups, organizations to build strong relationships, and connections that can provide you with information, new ideas, and even potential leads for new opportunities. As you might think, strong relationships do open doors. So establish a reputation of excellence by being someone people can rely on or turn to as a valuable source of information. And lastly, keep in mind virtual events such as this one. There was a time that it might have been difficult to drive across town for an event or even have the time to attend an event with a full agenda. But with technology these days, virtual events such as this one are making it possible for people to connect with each other, ask questions, and participate. Make sure you take advantage of these platforms as they will help you with building these strong relationships and also with potential job opportunities. Next slide, please. Job searching. I wanted to start with a myth you might hear because personally, I heard this quite often, especially after graduation. No one is hiring. Sure, there are some businesses that have been impacted by the current situation and that may implement hiring freezes, and others that will slow their hiring. But in general, there's always some need to hire people as a result of vacancies and retirements, and businesses still have to run. In addition, there are some industries that continue to do well during this time. Think Amazon and HEB. Here with SSFCU, we are also hiring, not quite the high volume as before, but even then, I anticipate that will be changing and we will continue to hire. So it is vital that you remain focused, strategize. While businesses are still hiring during a recession, the job competition might be a little bit harder. Therefore, planning and being strategic about your application. You definitely do not want to submit the same resume to 10 jobs as if you're shooting a target and see what sticks to the center. It should definitely be more strategic than that. As you read through job descriptions, look through the skills that each role is requiring. Look through multiple job descriptions for the same role if that helps. Another tip is to quote unquote pull apart the job description into bullets. Think of examples of how you have those skills and experience and add them to your resume. For instance, if you are in IT, make sure you include all of the tools, systems, platforms that you're experienced with and what you have done to be able to create or use those tools. Make sure your resume is specifically speaking to each job posting. And I know it may seem time consuming, but it will definitely help. Use skills and certificates. As mentioned before, use this extra time to acquire a new skill or learn something new that's going to be able to help you. As you acquire a new skill or skills through training and certificates, you might also learn that they transfer to other industries and roles that you were not previously considering. Remember, opportunities for you will also expand as your qualifications expand. And as new graduates, be sure to include projects you completed, courses, and certificates you completed or are currently enrolled in during your job search. It will definitely let employers know you have been active and not just waiting for an opportunity to come to you. Lastly, attitude goes a long way. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that job searching will be easy. It might be a little bit difficult, but above all, remember to keep the right attitude. Be patient with yourself and stay focused. And probably one of the most important things when searching for a job opportunity during these times is to retain that positive attitude. It will go a long way. Next slide, please. Virtual interviews. You made it. Congratulations. You received that phone call, an email, or I would not even be surprised, possibly even a text message, letting you know that you have been selected for a virtual interview. The next few slides will help you prepare and be ready with what to expect as interviews have changed, probably for the long term. Next slide, please. I'll start with the pros to the virtual interviews. As the hiring process moves to virtual platforms, virtual interviews are here to stay. You might as well adapt, get comfortable with this method, and use it to your advantage. The ease of scheduling. Some video interviews allow you to complete them at a day and time that works for you. You complete them on your schedule. How neat is that? The ball is in your court, so to speak. Imagine if you have multiple activities going on, or even better, you can complete multiple interviews on your schedule without having to play phone tag with a recruiter or hiring manager, or postpone them for another day. They save time. Possibly you still have online classes, assignments, activities, and you no longer have to worry about being at point A and then an hour later at point B. From a recruiter perspective, I can tell you I've heard it before. If a candidate had to drive across town during the week for a formal interview, some would decide it's too inconvenient and just opt out of the process altogether. So this is definitely a benefit to having virtual interviews. Also, less stress and anxiety. Even myself, as a recruiter, I find interviews to cause a bit of anxiety. But what if you have the opportunity to complete an interview in the comfort of your own home, your comfort zone, a place where you're able to feel comfortable and are familiar, and as a result, you feel less stress and anxiety. And if you find interviews to be less stressful, chances are you will shine and do better. Next slide, please. Now we get to the virtual interviews. Here are some few tips for success. Test your technology. Test, test, test. I cannot emphasize how important this piece is. Being technical savvy is one of the top competencies companies look for in new hires. Therefore, it is crucial for you to test your connection, your equipment, both the audio and video before your scheduled call. And when you test, be sure it is at least a day before. This way, if your video is not clear or your audio is not clear, you have the time to make any necessary updates to software or even purchase new equipment. Second, professional email login information. Some companies may use an enterprise video interview technology vendor, such as us here at SSFCU, we use HireView, that will not require you to have a login username. However, in today's virtual world, you may still use your email address or even Skype. So be sure that it is professional and simple. Definitely, it'll be a first impression. Third, research the organization you're applying to before the interview. Preparing, including the researching of the organization and practicing does not go away with virtual interviews. You should still be researching the organization to learn about their services, their products, their core values, and if possible, even the team. As a tip, follow the organization on LinkedIn. You'll be sure to learn about them, what they're up to, updates, and even opportunities. Fourth, practice simple interview Q&A and bring your own questions. Although there's no way to know exactly what the hiring manager will ask, there are some common interview questions you can prepare for. Answer simple questions on your own words. Be ready to discuss your experience as it pertains to the role you're interviewing for. This will help you answer the questions with confidence and also avoid any stuttering or forgetting information. Also, be ready to ask questions when they ask. Do you have any questions for me or for us? You should always have questions. Think about the obvious that you should have been able to ask. Think outside the job description. Think, how will success be measured for this new hire? Or even, can you tell me what is a team culture or team dynamics like? Something that's not already listed on the job description. Next slide, please. The tips for success continue. Fifth, dress for success. Although it is a virtual interview, dress as though you would still be attending a face-to-face interview. And if possible, avoid too many patterns or bright colors. You should always be the focus of the interview, not your wardrobe. 6, your time to shine. That's right, just as you would do a face-to-face interview, body language is just as important. To convey your confidence in a virtual interview, sit up straight, smile, keep the camera at eye level to avoid looking up, down, or sideways. An employer is more likely to remember what you said if you maintain eye contact. So stay focused and keep looking at the camera itself. 7, be mindful of the interview location. Ideally, you would want a blank background. You want to avoid having too many distractions behind you so that you remain the focal point. If you have a home office or a living room, be sure it does not have way too many distractions, plants, pictures, your favorite team flag, etc. Use the area that looks the most businesslike. Also important, as you test your video, check your lighting. As a tip, sitting across from a window helps. And lastly, be sure that you're in a quiet room where you're able to listen clearly and minimize any external sounds. 7, the thank you note and the follow-up. As I have been mentioning on the previous tips, some things do not go away with virtual interviews. Definitely do send a thank you note to the hiring manager if you have his or her direct email. But you can also send a thank you note directly to the recruiter to pass on to the hiring manager on your behalf. Be sure to send a thank you note within 24 hours of the interview. And in addition to thanking them for the opportunity, you can recap on the interview conversation. Also, if there were any concerns or questions that came up during the interview, this is a time where you can provide additional information for those concerns. And one more thing before I forget, as it is very important. If ever you need to reschedule a live interview, please do not ghost us. Let the recruiter know and we can send another link or altogether reschedule. Or even if you felt the recording that was sent was not recording in full, reach out to the recruiter and explain the situation. We're all human too and understand that things happen. Chances are they will send another link, no problem. I'm sure that with some of these tips, preparation and practice, you will do great. Next slide, please. So my takeaways from this presentation would definitely be to be adaptable. Remember to be adaptable and ready to change. Things have been changing, technologies change for the better, and so do we. Be a lifelong learner. Take the time to learn a new skill that will help you position yourself better as you do your job searching. And network. We know it will be a little bit different, but do not forget to continue to network, grow your network, and maintain those relationships. Some of these strong relationships may open doors for you and opportunities. Preparation is key during these times. Take your time, get it right, do practice runs, be yourself, and position yourself to win. Do your research, test runs, and practice in front of your camera. Even record yourself to better practice and have all the answers right. The positive attitude, it is very important. And the positive attitude, like I mentioned, goes a long way. Throughout your job searching and interview process, remember to be kind to yourself. Keeping a positive attitude will help you stay focused and reach your goals. Next slide, please. So I hope that some of these tips will help you as you prepare to do job searching and interviews during these times. So at this time, I welcome any questions or thoughts.
Okay, Anna, so we actually do have some questions that were submitted prior to this workshop. So I want to know if I can run those by you.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious. This environment's really going to have to evolve the worker at this point, right? We really are seeing new skills really have to come up on the forefront. So like say written and communication are really having to be stellar. Is that going to be changing how you are actually screening candidates at all? Will you be looking for specific skills throughout this process?
I would say being adaptable again. Communication is always going to be key because especially now more than ever, as we are remote communication, we definitely sometimes have to over communicate. So communication will always be key. Definitely, like I've mentioned, being open minded and ready to change will still be key.
Now, I guess in questions also is the timeline of a job search. I know we had actually talked about this a couple of weeks ago where we were saying, how recruiters especially had to be very timely in their responses because they could lose a candidate. Is this
Mhm.
timeline going to be impacted in this job market as well?
I do not believe so. I think as recruiters, we definitely want to maintain that timeline of communication with the candidates and just keeping that communication open and touching base with them throughout the process.
See, we have a question from Brielle. She is asking, when looking for a job, especially during these times, what is a platform that you recommend using?
LinkedIn is perfect. I love LinkedIn. You could add all of your experience there. You see the job openings there, and like I've mentioned, it is so easy to follow companies or the organizations that you're interested in. And if you follow these organizations, anytime a new position with them comes up, you will definitely be notified. So you could be an early applicant, and being an early applicant definitely goes a long way.
Now, again, because the job search it's going to be a lot for some individuals, right? What are some tips that you have not to get overwhelmed with this? How to make sure that you are kind of keeping organized during this process?
Definitely. I am one that believes in Excel. So if you have a quick Excel sheet, Excel spread about the positions that you're interested in, the organizations that you've applied or keeping track, definitely do that. But as always, even as a recruiter, I encourage all candidates to follow up with me. Because even as recruiters, sometimes we are just swamped and we definitely don't mean to touch base with a certain candidate, but definitely just reach out to us. And using the Excel to stay organized will definitely help.
I love that you mentioned that. Yeah, so many students are like, I don't know if I can follow up or not. I'm not sure if this is appropriate, but yeah, the fact
You
is, why
definitely
not?
can. Exactly. And actually, all of the candidates that I ever have the opportunity and pleasure to speak with, towards the end of my call, I always tell them, if you ever need to follow up, feel free to send me an email or even, send me a message on LinkedIn. I'll definitely respond as soon as possible.
Nice. All right, Yasmin has the question of that some job descriptions are pretty general. So some students may feel a job maybe a little too hard, or maybe they're not sure if they're qualified. What would you advise that student?
That's a great question. So something else that I do, especially when I'm out at university campuses, I tell everybody reach out to a recruiter if you're able to on LinkedIn, especially here at SSFCU. All of our recruiters, we are on LinkedIn. And if you see an opening that you're interested and you feel maybe you have 80% of the skills, not quite 100 of them, 100% of them, definitely reach out to us and ask for our input and our thoughts. See if your experience and your background, your knowledge is able to transition into that role.
You heard it right there, Jaguars. Again, even if you're not sure and you have that feeling, but I can do this, go ahead and take advantage of that. Anna, what are your thoughts then of maybe students incorporating academic experience on their resume? Does that matter to recruiters?
I love seeing, especially for recent graduates, I love seeing what kind of projects they were part of, projects or tools that they used during their their school years. If they were affiliated with certain organizations, I love seeing that as well.
Great. Yeah, because I mean, sometimes you don't have to be paid to develop those skills, right? You can be maybe a leader of a student org or maybe volunteering with an organization that you did maybe a media plan for them. So there's all these other ways that you can develop it. You don't have to just get it from work. So thank you, thank you, thank you for
Absolutely,
mentioning
yes.
that.
especially with projects, if I see that they were part of a project, if they led certain initiatives, I see that this person might have project management skills or leadership skills, and those go a long way.
Nice. Now another thing, so we know that there's different types of interviews, right? From that one-on-one to that team environment. What should students be expecting? Are they going to be just seeing that one person interview, or are maybe employers using teams? What's going on?
There's a mixture. To be honest, it really depends on the organization and on the teams themselves. But as far as interviews, even if they're virtual, expect either still the one person interviewing, or it could be two, three people interviewing from the organization.
And you treat it the same way, right? Where you're making that eye contact with each person, ideally.
Exactly. And as you're so just keep looking at the camera. That would be the easiest way to do it. Just look at the camera. As the interviewer asks a question, just look at the camera and it'll just remain focused.
Nice. Another question that we have is if your organization is going to be looking at virtual career fairs. And as a follow-up to that, I would love to know, do you have any advice for students who are going to be attending events such as those?
Have your resume updated. If you attend a virtual hiring event, definitely have your resume updated. Do research on the organization, like I mentioned before, so you know the organization, their products, their services, their core values, and come with questions because that's going to show that you've definitely been doing your homework, that you're engaged, and that you're definitely interested.
And will security service be looking at participating in those types of events as well?
We're definitely in the works for that. So we have a platform where we're able to already do the live video interviews, and currently we're in the works of um, running practices on how we could facilitate virtual career events, hiring events.
Nice. So I know you had mentioned, for candidates to come in with questions, because this is also a two-way street, right?
Mhm.
Not only does the employer want to make sure they get the right candidate, but also the job seeker should say, well, am I going to fit into this company's culture?
Exactly.
So I'm curious, is it going to be okay for candidates to even ask, so how did you support your employees during COVID?
Absolutely. Definitely ask questions such as those. And I'm pretty certain the hiring manager will be glad to bring examples. And with those kinds of questions, you'll definitely want to know, will definitely know whether or not maybe the organization is aligned with your own values.
Very, very nice. Do we have any other questions from the chat? Okay. So Anna, I want to know, this is the big moment. What is your key piece of advice? You're like, you know what? If again, they're gonna be able to watch back this replay, but for sure I want you to know this important fact at this moment. What would that be for a job seeker at this time?
Again, just being focused, just really focused, very strategic. And like I mentioned before, it's a positive attitude. Will definitely help and go a long way. And like I mentioned, preparation is key. Going through the job searching and the interview, it does take some practice. And that's really the way to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that positive mindset, right? That's gonna get us through this.
Perfect.
Thank
Yes.
you so much, Anna, for taking the time. We appreciate you sharing your expertise. So, FYI, Jaguars, Anna also has a really great article on LinkedIn right now talking about the virtual interview. So, very much welcome you to actually read that.
Great, thank you so much. And I did want to share my next slide, Clarissa, just in case anybody wants to connect with me and just get additional tips. I'm always looking to connect with students, professionals on LinkedIn, and happy to help with resume reviews, interview tips. Again, if you follow SSFCU, you will also be updated with the latest news, latest events within the organization, and job opportunities.
Hey, Anna, we got one more question in. Would you mind helping me out with this one? So, the individual, Kaylin, she's actually our internship coordinator. I know she's probably getting this question from students as well right now. They are pretty much wondering that if an internship is cut short because of COVID, should they be putting that on the resume? And then how would employers be viewing this at this moment?
That's a very interesting question. I think employers and everybody really, because of the current unprecedented times that we're in, they're going to be very understanding. Um, I would not put it on the resume. Definitely, when you get a chance to speak with a recruiter or the hiring manager, you could possibly explain the situation.
All right. Okay. Is anyone else last call for questions? Because I'm going to do a shameless plug on the Maze Center because anytime I'm on the line, I will try that to my fullest. So, as Anna mentioned, making sure to practice, especially given a virtual platform, it is something, it's a new environment for all of us. And I know we all get nervous on it. That anxiety being in front of a camera is a whole new world. So, we want to make sure that you know that you have the resources available to you as a student. So, we actually have a platform through the Maze Center called Big Interview. This is something that, as long as you have access to a camera, whether that be on your computer or maybe a mobile device, an iPad, whatever it may be, you can actually have access to thousands of industry questions that are not just based on the industries, but they also have maybe certain skills that if you need to practice that, maybe you're like, I have a hard time talking about my problem solving skills. You can hone in on that and really fine tune it before you get into that real world interview. Also, the nice thing is that you can submit that in for a critique from our Maze Center team. So please, Jaguars, go ahead and take advantage of it. Even also, you can actually schedule an appointment with us. So make sure that you are keeping in touch with the Maze Center. We are operational. We're ready to help you. Our advisors are ready to make sure that we can guide you through this process because we know that employers such as Anna are really coming up and looking for great talent. So we want to make sure to connect the dots there. As I had mentioned in the beginning of this session, it will be published on our YouTube channel, so please make sure to visit that. It's also going to be joined with some other great content, such as our Theme Thursdays, also our graduate school info sessions, our financial literacy components. So a lot of great things to make sure that we can all be together and actually well versed in this COVID period. So thank you again for everyone that attended. Thank you again, Anna and Security Service, for providing some great content to this session.
Thank you so much, Clarissa. And if it's not too late, I'd want to actually add a little bit more information. I
Sure.
believe I maybe misunderstood the question. So I see now that she meant if she already has the internship, I misinterpreted it as if she had an internship offer but had not started. So if she or he already has an internship and it was cut short, then yes, definitely include it in your resume and you could just include a one liner of, why it ended. So I hope that helps and I apologize. I think I misread the question. But you will not
Not
be dinged points or anything like that if it was cut short because of COVID-19.
okay. Thank you for that clarification. Very much appreciate it.
Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Clarissa.
Okay, that is a wrap for us. Again, thank you everyone for attending and be on the lookout for our YouTube channel for the publishing. All right, have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you again, Anna.
Thank you.